Guess what? It's the Tuesday Live Show. My name is Jeff St Laurent, and I'm excited for today's topic, which is breaking all of the rules. And what are the rules? They're all the things that you hear gurus, experts, including myself, tell you about doing a coaching business, starting it off, all the things you need to think about and do, etc. And today, I'm going to kind of banish all of those things. And I'll tell you why and how we can do that, and we'll go from there. Before we get started, I do record all of my Tuesday live shows, and I put them on my website, sellingcoaching.com. In the university, I got fantastic resources in there, if I can say that myself. I help coaches transition to a full-time business, start them from the ground up. And you know what? I don't talk about ninja hacks and strategies and all this like, 5 figures and blah, 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 and 6 figures and all, and all these special programs. Like, I teach the fundamentals, so you can not only get paid to do what you love, but you can get paid consistently over a long period of time. I've been doing this now. I'm on my 16th year doing this full-time as a full-time income, creating consistent 6 and multiple 6-figure income during that time. And I don't do it by any special ninja, all this stuff that's just like this one-time thing. Like, I've done it from the fundamentals, building it from the ground up, and that's the way I teach and I work with my mentor coaching clients. Right on the homepage of sellingcoaching.com, I have a fantastic resource for you to start off with. If you enter your name and email address, you'll get instant access to it. It's an audio training program, and it's launching your full-time coaching business, the first 3 vital steps. So go ahead and take advantage of that. And of course, if you're in a position where you need some extra help and you want some mentoring, or you're open to that conversation, fill out the form at the bottom of the Work With Me page at sellingcoaching.com, and I will call you up. We'll have a relaxed conversation, and we can decide where to go from there. But today, we're talking about breaking all the rules. And what are the rules I'm talking about here? So when we're starting off a coaching business, and this isn't just the stuff that I'll tell you or other gurus or experts will tell you about what you need to do. This is also kind of the impression I think most coaches would have in starting a business in terms of the way they'd like to do things, right? So the way they'd like to do things, well, I'm going to open a business, I need a website, and I need to have a good website, and it needs to look good, right? I'm not saying you don't need to have it look good, right? But these are things, and I want to have business cards, and I've got to get my social media platform set up, and I got to get my Facebook business page, and I'm going to get my YouTube channel and get on LinkedIn and Instagram and Twitter and whatever, right? And I'm going to get and I've got to get the banner set up, right? And I've got to I got to get some professional pictures taken for my website, Then on the business side, like, okay, I've got to figure out my niche, who's my target audience and what are the benefits of my services to them, and there's a lot of other little components, I got to figure out my packaging and pricing, and I got to get my contracts all set up, right? And these are kind of maybe some of the rules we might have or think we need in order to get started with our coaching business, right? And I'm not saying that those things aren't needed or warranted or good to have, right? I teach a lot of that stuff. My message today is that what I find is a lot of the times is that coaches tend to get caught up in that. And it's like, my website is under construction, and not only that, they're paying, $3 to $5 grand to get a website up and going, right? But then you ask them and say, well, who are you helping with what specifically? And they have no clue, right? But yet they're paying, let's just say $5 grand, $3 grand for a website, and they don't even know who their target audience is, And then it's like they don't even have, like, let's say, having a free resource for lead capture on their website, and if you ask her to write something, they don't know what to write, right? So it's like, I give them credit for moving forward with some things, right? But then it's like they're spending all this time, energy, and money on something that, why would they doing that if they don't understand their audience yet? Why are they spending that much time and energy and money on something they don't understand yet? Or if they can't even write a free resource, right? Or they get nervous with that piece, right? And so, or they get so paralyzed with what they should be doing with their website, and I'm getting my logo done, and I'm hiring a copywriter, So what's happening is they're getting paralyzed in this mix of all these things and these rules that they think they have to do, when number one, their message isn't clear to begin with, and they're letting it take months, if not, sometimes it takes years for them to get it done, or they get it done, But then it's like, oh, I don't really like this, or it's not really resonating with me. And so then they start changing it and tweaking it, right? And so they're doing all this, and it's just like walking in circles. It's not doing anything for them, right? They're not getting any business. And the hard part about that is that sometimes it fools them into thinking they're doing their business. Like by doing all that stuff, it doesn't mean you're doing your business or growing your business. You're setting up some of the framework for your business, but it's not doing anything in terms of getting you paid and getting you clients, right? And so with that, I'm not saying don't do all that stuff. I'm suggesting, especially if you're starting to do some of this stuff and it's holding you up and you're confused about it, or especially if you're starting to spend lots of money, on this process, and I'm getting business cards, and I'm hiring a web designer, I'm hiring a copywriter, and I'm hiring coaches, and you know what I mean? And then I'm subscribing to all these, the online calendars, and so now you're adding all these costs to your business, and then I'll say to a coach, okay, why don't you get online and do a live broadcast from a social media platform like a Facebook or a YouTube or something like that, and talk about your story and your message, or who you're helping with what, and they can't do that, right? But yet you've just spent X amount of time and money and doing all this stuff, right? And so it's kind of backwards. And then also then they get to this place where I've got to figure out my niche, right? And the niche is really a big topic with people. And I'll talk about your niche and the importance of it, et cetera. I've done it with no niche for a long time. I've done it with a strong niche for quite a while as well. And I'd say niche always beats no niche if you understand it. But sometimes they get paralyzed with that. So today when I'm talking about breaking all the rules, I'm going into the premise of is that, especially if I'm not saying don't start with this stuff. I'm saying start to look at that, right? Start to look at your niche. Start to look at some of these elements. But if you're getting hung up for too long, and what's too long, more than a month, 2 at the most, you should be behind the scenes before you kind of get this thing going. And some people might think like, oh my God, well, if I'm launching a business and I'm launching a long-term business, shouldn't I take the time to set up all these elements and do it the right way? And absolutely, right? That's what I do with my mentor coaching clients, right? But I'm helping them along the way, right? If you're doing this by yourself and you can't figure it out, my message to you here today is breaking all those rules is, okay, forget about your niche. Like get out there and start speaking and talk around some topics that you're passionate about, forget about your website, forget about your logo and your business cards and all that stuff. Forget about hiring a copywriter. So you can write about yourself. You can write about something and you're like, oh, Jeff, well, I'm not a good writer. It's like BS. I'm not a good writer either, but I wrote a 400-page book, right? And people loved it and it worked well, right? So it's like you learn how to write. You learn how to do those things. You learn how to speak, at a seminar. You learn how to do a live broadcast, right? I didn't come out of the womb, and get in front of 100 people and feel comfortable, right? Or do these Facebook Lives or these live broadcasts or anything like that and feel good about it. This has been a 25 plus year culmination of me public speaking and practicing and formulating a message back to my personal training days, when I had to get on stage teaching classes and working with groups of people. Like it all culminated into what I'm doing now, right? But it takes practice with that stuff. And doing all that behind the scenes stuff is important at some point, but if it's holding you back from getting out there, then you need to kind of put that stuff down and forget about the website, forget about your niche, and get 10 to 15 people in a room and talk to them about something, personal development, awareness, SMART goals, anything. Do a vision board workshop, anything that's going to kind of help people from where they are and move them forward. Like that's the gross definition of coaching, right? Is I'm helping someone from where they are now get to where they want to go. Right? And how we do that, it's called coaching. And everyone has a bunch of different definitions. Who cares, right? It's like I'm helping you move forward, right? That's what it is. And what I'm saying is also in breaking the rules is don't take everything so seriously. Now, let me contrast that with saying like it's a business and you want to take it seriously, right? And so I'm not sending a mixed message here, but sometimes we take it so seriously that we get so caught up in like, oh, I have to, and I can't do this until, and we set up these like all these barriers of this. Oh, I need to have all these things in place before I do this, and it can't work that way. And if that's holding you back, then that's not a good thing. And here's what I found is I did this with, and this topic's coming from, because last week, and I think earlier this week, yesterday, I worked with 3 of my clients, and one client of mine, it's like we've probably done like 4 sessions together, and we leave every session with specific stuff to be done. We clarify it. We go through it. I'm like, make sure you understand what's going on. Absolutely. And then next, go back a week after week, nothing's getting done, right? And they're getting distracted, and this thing, one leads to another, and then there's the holidays, blah, blah, blah. Here we are, let's say 2.5 months later, and it's like nothing's been done, right? Oh, I'm getting caught up with this technical things and stuff like that. And even though I've helped work through some things and gave resources and stuff like that, they're still getting caught up. And then the last session, I'm like, listen, you know what? Scrap the website, scrap the email, scrap the headline, scrap all this stuff. Even though we have some framework and we got some ideas, we'll come back to that when we're ready for it. Right now, here's what we need you to do. We need you to start getting out, practicing doing a live broadcast like this every week, right? Let's start crafting an email and sending it to, your X amount of friends and family members, just to see what that feels like for you. Start practicing that every week. We're going to actually start, we're going to then come back to this next with making a list of some people that they can start to reach out to. And we're going to help them very specifically with, what we could do to set up a seminar around. We're going to help them pick a topic and things like that. We can start that. So we're starting to get that person out in front of some people so that they can start understanding their message and start getting a feel for what they're talking about. All that other stuff can happen later, right? And here's what I found is do you need a website for someone to hire you? No, you don't. And some people are like, oh yeah, but Jeff, I do corporate this or this. And it's like the first thing they're going to look at is if I have a website. I'm not talking about every single situation, but even in some of those situations, what I'm saying is that's not a deal breaker, right? Someone's not going to be like, well, you don't have a website, so I'm not going to hire you, right? No, if they're considering hiring you, it's not about whether you have a website or not. It's about what are their needs that they have? What are the timing of those needs? And are they open to a conversation of how you might be able to help them? Are they open to taking a closer look at how you could help them if they were to hire you as their coach, right? That's what that conversation is about, not whether you have a website or not. Something like, oh, whether I'm certified or not. That is no bearing. No one's ever asked me, like, do you have a certification? Oh, and no, you don't have a certification. Well, I'm not going to hire you, right? And I've even got a client now, and something like, well, call me back when you have a certification. But the reality is if we dig deeper into that, is that's not the real reason they're saying we can't talk right now, right? Because certified or not, they just haven't gotten their paper yet in the mail, but technically they're already done. It's just going through the motions, right? You got to dig a little bit deeper than that and just saying, let's assume I was certified. Let me ask you this. Would you be genuinely interested in having a conversation? And so now you can get past some of those ethereal objections and realize that stuff doesn't matter. Here's what matters the most, and I'm adamant about this. What matters the most is you being able to get in front of an audience in any format, whether it's virtual like this or live or in a podcast or some recording or something like that, where you can be confident and charismatic and likable and whatever those mean. It doesn't mean, whatever your version of it is. Like it's you and authentic, and be able to actually speak articulately and confidently and fluently and get a message across that is a beginning, a middle, and an end that makes an impact with people. That's it. That's what you need to be able to do. That's the number one skill set, right? To start us off, right? And there's a lot on the back end in terms of, okay, now from that, well, how do we engage in those conversations? How do we dig up needs and timing? What's the qualification process we take someone through from start to finish? We take them through a process for them to hire us. And then how does it all work? What is our packaging and pricing? How do we close the deal? How do we take payment, right? There's other stuff beyond there. But the starting point is you got to be able to get your ass on any social media platform with your phone or a webcam and fire it up, hit live, piss your pants, gloop, sweat, pit through your pits, and do a live broadcast, and do that every week for the next year. And tell me you're not going to be better at articulating your message, right? And every time you do it, watch it back and coach yourself in terms of, what am I doing well? How can I improve on this? And it's not just improving in terms of, okay, my set and my lighting and my microphone, making sure people can see and hear you clearly. But the reality is, if you're in a quiet room with your cell phone, technology nowadays, you can, and if you got enough natural daylight, you do it in front of a window in front of you, you know what? And the room's quiet enough, you're going to get great HD video that you're broadcasting, and it's going to sound just fine, right? So it's not like, oh my God, I need to get this set in the studio. And that's what people are like, oh, what microphone do you use? What camera do you use? Who cares? Break all the rules. Just get your ass on video and try it out first, right? And practice that a little bit. You know, I got a brand new client last night or yesterday, and I'm like, all right, so let's get on, let's do a live broadcast, and, you know, whatever you want to use, Facebook or whatever, and just start talking about it, you know. And it was like, let's forget about all the rules of how long it should be, how short it should be, and what time of day you should do it at. And right, these are all the things that, you know, all these experts are out there, you know, don't broadcast at this time. And if you're going to do this, make sure you send your emails at this, and then check and do a double split test. And it's like, really? Stop. Do that when you're making six figures and you're kind of tweak things, and you, like, do that when like you're actually been doing it for a year. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I guess my biggest message you hear is just like, forget about all those rules right away, and start building the framework of working on yourself and articulating a message. And that's where I want to leave you with today is, and that's the hardest part. The hardest thing you'll ever do is not making a website or getting your picture taken in business photos, or, you know what I mean? Or setting up your email list. Like, that's just like the least important stuff. Like, it plays a role at some point in some capacities, and it's going to make you feel good because you've got a website. But what's going to make you really feel good is when you're running someone's credit card, and then you're coaching with them for the next 6-8 months or whatever, and you're helping them create results, and they write you a testimonial that says, hey, Jeff, thanks so much. You've helped change my life, or you've helped me, you know, blah, blah, blah with my business. Like, that's what's going to matter. You're not, you know, feeling good that you've got your website done. Yeah, it's a step. I'm not denying it here, but for the sake of conversation, that's not the end all goal. And so, especially if you're getting wound up with that stuff, break the rules, start to speak your message, work on yourself in that craft. And that's just going to get you to the place actually of figuring all the other stuff out once you start speaking that message and understanding it and becoming more confident.